Sorry. Yeah. So stakeholder analysis is the analysis about, we have different stakeholders that we have in a project. What are these different stakeholders that we have in a project? There are three I's. One is these are three different I's which we need to handle in a project. What are these three I's? One is the supreme one, whom we manage very closely, is investor, right? The person who invests in the project. Investors are the people, it could be the client, it could be your sponsor, your director, or whomsoever is funding your project. That is your investor. Then your team members also you handle pretty closely, right? Impacted, the people, invented rather. So in this case, it would be the people who are working to get the product or the service produced are inventors. So these are inventors, the people who work for you, right? So they are also getting managed very closely. And then the final one is impacted, the people who are going to use your product are going to be impacted with it, right? So the user and the impacted community, they are the impactor. For example, let's say you're in construction and you're building a dam, water dam, right? Now this dam is going to be built somewhere in the hills to control the flow of the water. And now there is a village before that stream of the water or the river. There's a village on the banks of the river. If you control the flow of the water, obviously what will happen is the village which is on the bank of the river before the dam might get flooded. So these people are getting impacted with your project, even though they are not user of it. They might not be using anything out of your project, but then they are getting impacted. So that's why we call that as impactor. The person, the people, set of people who get impacted or are using your product, right? They are your stakeholders. These are the people whom we need to manage in our project. Now, these are the set of people that we need to manage in a project, and we need to ensure that they are completely aligned to the objective of a project. Otherwise, there is a huge chance that my project itself might fail, right? My project might not succeed. Because then I would be spending too much of my energy in ensuring my people are, the stakeholders are aligned towards the project objective, and I would lose focus on the bigger picture of managing risk and managing the entire project itself, right? So what are the different processes that we have in the stakeholder management? These processes are, we need to first identify the stakeholders. This identification of the stakeholders happens along with the project charter in the beginning when we are initiating the project. So in the initiation itself, we are able to identify the stakeholders. After identifying, now all the stakeholders are not identified at that point of time because we have not done the planning. So it is where you identify the probable or most of your stakeholders. The inventors get identified only after the planning phase when you go and plan for how many people that are required. Then you move into the planning. You need to plan for the stakeholder management. That is, how would you categorize the people into different categories, different stakeholders in different categories? You cannot manage all the stakeholders the same way. You need to manage them differently. For example, if there is a stakeholder who has very high power and very high influence, you want to manage them very closely. Versus someone who doesn't have that high power, doesn't have any, is not getting impacted, doesn't have any influence on the project. If that's the situation, you might just keep them on radar. You might just send, you might not manage them closely. You just want to keep them on radar if their power is increasing or influence is increasing or they're getting entrusted towards your project. So different groups, you would manage it differently. Probably some of these groups you might want to delegate it to somebody else as well to manage. And then this is what you plan. Then you get it approved about how do you manage your stakeholders. Then you go and execute it. That's managed stakeholder engagement. During execution, you find out that there are stakeholders who were resistant earlier of your project. They have moved into the neutral or the supportive category, but the stakeholder who was supportive earlier has moved down because of some issues. He has moved down into the resistant category. Supportive stakeholder becoming resistant is not a good news. So I might need to increase the frequency of my communication with him. I need to find out what exactly has happened. So I might need to make changes to the plan document. That is controlled stakeholder engagement. We need to go and identify the stakeholders. Identification of the stakeholders happens with the tooling technique that we have is stakeholder analysis. Experts will, of course, go and tell me about the different stakeholders that are involved. And I can get this information by the meetings as well. Right. Stakeholder analysis is we need to process systematically, we need to have a process systematically gathering, analyzing quantitative and qualitative information to determine the interest of different people uh, that has to be taken into account throughout the project, right? So identify all the potential stakeholders and information like their role, their department, their interest level. Are they very much interested in the project or they're not interested, their knowledge level, what is their expectation? To manage my stakeholder, it is very important that I understand the stakeholder, their expectations. Otherwise, how would I manage them? And most importantly, their influence level, how much influential they are in the project. All right. Then we need to impact the potential impact and support each stakeholder that can be generated, and that's how we classify them into different categories. So different classifications that we have for, we just spoke about now that we need to classify our stakeholders. Different classification that we can do for our stakeholders is we can look at the power, what's the power? For example, now in India, sometime back, a project was done by Tata Motors. They set up a plant in West Bengal. That was for creating it was the smallest car that they were coming up with, and they wanted, that was very ambitious project to make a car, four-wheeler, in within a fixed budget of approximately $2,000. Now they wanted to come up with a car, and they set up a plant over there. So that was a huge investment, crores, millions of dollars probably were spent on it. And eventually, what happened? I think they did not realize that the impact of that particular state's chief minister, the minister of that state, can have on their project. Eventually, she used it for her own personal advantage. She used it for her own political advantage. Now, that power that she was having needs to be identified in the beginning. What is the power that the person has? What is the influence that the person can have on a project? Manage them very closely, understand the expectations and meet those expectations. If you're not able to meet the expectations, no need, no point in doing the project over there, because the project cannot be successful. Same thing happened over here. Eventually, what happened? She influenced the project in such a way that eventually Tata had to close down the entire project over there. All the money that they spent in building the equipment, the building the entire premises in that state went in drain. It was a kill. They had to kill the project over there, and then eventually they moved on to another state, which was Gujarat. So that's where we need to classify the stakeholders in different categories and accordingly manage them. The different categories with which we can manage, with which we can categorize them is power and interest, power and influence, influence and impact. Um, uh, can they have a lot of impact on a project, and what is the influence that they can have on a project? These are the different classification models which or methods with which we can classify the people. This is how it looks like, the interest grid. So I would be managing someone who falls into right. I would manage someone who falls into this particular category, right? I will manage someone who falls into this category, which is high power and high interest. If somebody has a high interest on my project, I would want to manage them very closely. And if somebody doesn't have that high interest, I probably am going to delegate it to somebody else. These are some of the rules for managing our people. The high interest and high power, I will manage very closely. High power, low interest, they have very high power, but they don't have much interest. Keep them satisfied. Ensure that they are satisfied, their needs are met. And high power, high interest but low power, they don't have much power, they cannot influence my project much, but they have very high interest. Keep them informed. The villagers, right, in the example of the dam which we're constructing, keep them informed about the progress and what are we doing for them. And low power, low interest, or the influence, we need to just monitor them if they are changing. For example, if you have people forming a group over here, typically the unions which are created with the laborers, initially individually they don't have much power, but if they start forming the union, they would move into straight away into high power and high interest, right? So that's how we need to keep them monitored to understand if there is anything unprecedented happening over there or not, right? If everything is going the right way or not. Um, so planned stakeholder management is done with the expert judgment, meetings, and analytical technique, the ones that we have just spoken about now. These are the analytical techniques that we follow. Finally, after we have planned, we need to go and manage the stakeholder engagement, right? We need to go and manage my stakeholders engagement. Our stakeholder engagement that we have to manage is the day-to-day. We need to ensure that the stakeholders are content with the work that we are doing, are happy with the way work is progressing. So for that, we have the communication methods, the same method that we spoke about earlier in the communication chapter. That's why I said the communication and stakeholder management go hand in hand. To manage my stakeholders, what do I need to do? I need to keep them happy by giving them a lot of information. That is communication method. Push, pull, or uh, push, pull, or interactive. These are the communication methods. Interpersonal skills, your leadership skills. You can use authoritative, paternalistic, democratic, laissez-faire. All these different methods you can use your leadership styles to keep the stakeholders engaged, and your management skills. All of these are software aspects which we already discussed in our communication management chapter. So interpersonal skills, building trust, resolving the conflict. With conflict, again, it has to be a win-win situation, which we discussed in our communication management chapter. What is it called as? Collaborative. If it is not possible, if the ego has come in between, then you need to go and force and direct, which is again, one person wins, but the other person is losing. Active listening, overcoming resistance, these are your interpersonal skills. And then the management skills are also utilized to keep your stakeholders engaged and managed. If there is any problem while managing your stakeholders, then all of that gets recorded into the issue log. So it's a powerful tool for a project manager to monitor and manage stakeholders' expectation, and a written documentation log with the project issues. This helps to monitor who's responsible for resolving specific issues by a target date. Again, this is prepared when we need to understand if all my engagement activities with my stakeholders are effective or not. If not, what are the different issues that I have encountered with my stakeholders, and record those issues. Only after recording you can plan for how to resolve those issues. What can you do about resolving those issues, right? So that is what gets recorded into the issue log. Now, while we have managed our stakeholders, we have recorded the issue log. That is, we have found out that there are certain places in which my communication was not that effective. My stakeholder engagement was not that effective. Now I need to control it. That is, make changes to the plan document to ensure that my stakeholder engagement is more effective during the course of the project. This is done by expert judgment. Expert can tell me by meetings, understanding different stakeholder, different needs, changing needs, of course, and all of this getting recorded into the information management system. So the tool and technique that we have is, experts can come and tell me about what are the different stakeholder requirement that we have, and if they have any if there is any particular stakeholder who was earlier very vocal about his concerns, who was earlier very vocal about whatever is his expectations, and the way things are going. Now he has suddenly become very quiet. What is the reason behind he becoming very quiet? It could be that we need to find it out, right? That's recorded into issue log. How to make him more engaged, how to ensure that people who are more powerful and more supportive of the project stay in that zone, in being supportive, rather than getting into the zone of getting against resistor for the project. That is more of expert judgment and meetings. We can meet our how do meetings contribute? So when you're meeting your stakeholders, at that point of time, you analyze if the behavior, the body language of your stakeholders, and with that also you will be able to find out if there is any change that is required in your stakeholder engagement. So yeah, that's about the stakeholder engagement. We have just completed the stakeholder engagement now. If you have seen, stakeholder engagement was very similar to what we have in the communication management. And communication management, stakeholder management, these were the same chapter before the current PMBOK that's there. Earlier it was one same chapter. And then it was broken down. But then again, because it was earlier one chapter and was broken down into two different chapters, we generally have a lot of a lot of synergies between these two chapters. They are very similar. Last topic that we have is the professional and social responsibility that we have as a project manager. So as a project manager, we need to, these are the four ethics, these are the four values that we need to carry. All these values are measured as aspirational and mandatory. There's a difference. What is aspirational, mandatory? I will explain that in a short while. So what are these values that we have? The value is responsibility. We need to be responsible for whatever decisions that we take. We need to be responsible for whatever action that we do. We need to respect everyone, not just a few stakeholders, everyone. We need to ensure that we give respect to people, money, reputation of the company, the safety of others. So it's not that project is planned, but there is no plan for safety. The safety equipment has to be taken care of. If you have gone into the projects which is happening in in construction industry, they always have always have helmets for all the construction workers over there. All that is safety aspect. Marking of the dangerous material, the chemicals, to ensure that nobody goes near them, handles them carefully. All that are the safety aspects, which comes as this is the value that's been shown over there is respect for people, respect for money, respect for reputation of the company, the safety of others, and natural or the environmental needs. Then we need to be fair towards the people, right? Fairness is the decisions that we make. Whatever we do, we cannot be biased. We cannot be biased. For example, if there is a conflict between two team members of ours, we cannot be biased towards the person. We need to be very fair, and our conduct must be free from competing self-interest, prejudice, and favoritism. We should not favor SME or anybody. Honesty, that is we need to be completely honest in our approach as well. Duty to understand truth and act in truthful manner, both in our communication and in our conduct, right? So these are the four values which we have from the PMI perspective. These values are both, as I said, aspirational and mandatory. What do I mean by aspirational and mandatory? You need to be, you need to be very honest. But at the same point of time, if let's say your stakeholders, at times it might happen that what you have planned, what you have shared with your stakeholders, that is your sponsor, is your project is going to be done in 1 year. At the same point of time, to ensure that that's what you have communicated to your sponsor is including the buffers that you have built for the risks, right? That team leaving in between, somebody goes on leave, then there are certain buffers that you have kept, critical chain if you remember. That's what you have communicated to your sponsor. Now, it's not necessary, right? You don't want to communicate the same information to your team members, because once you communicate, the team is going to utilize that time period. What you want to communicate to the team is without the buffers, so that they try to finish the work early than the commitment which is given to the sponsor. So you might have communicated 1 month, or you might have communicated 10 months instead of 1 year to your team member. So that's aspirational. In that situation, it is not mandatory. We cannot say it's mandatory that you have to be completely transparent between both the stakeholders. Not possible, right? If your team member comes and asks you about the financial information, none of his business. You might want to disclose it to him, might not want to disclose it to him, right? It's your team member. It's at times there are certain things which you don't want to share with certain people. Even if somebody from media comes and asks you about the information regarding, the financial information about your project. Now, it's not necessary that at that point of time, if it's against the company's guidelines, you don't have to share that kind of information to external people. We cannot say that you were not fair, you were not honest in your approach. So that's where it is aspirational. Mandatory is it's situational, right? In certain situations, it is mandatory. For example, in exam, the question which often comes is, let's say you have gone on an interview for a project management position. You've gone for an interview, and in that interview, what happens is you find out a colleague of yours who has also come for interview. Now, for this interview, it's a mandate. Already it was given out that mandate is you should be a project manager, the PMP certified. That's one of the eligibility criteria. Your friend told that he is PMP certified. You got PMP certified, so both of you are there. Towards the end of a lot of rounds of interviews, only you and your friend are left. And later on, he discloses and says that now there are two positions left, so looks like we both will get it. Honestly, I've not completed my PMP till now. If I get this job, I will complete my PMP, right? So this is what he communicates to you. He tells you this thing. What you should do as a project, as a PMP holder, as a project management professional, you need to consider PMP's interest also, right? It's not your alone interest, it's your interest, your company's interest, and project management institutes, the PMI's interest as well you need to consider. So in this situation, you will validate. It's easy. You can just go to the portal of PMI, put the name of the person, and validate if he is PMP certified or not. After validation, you need to tell it, you need to report it out to the people who are interviewing that this guy is not certified. Then you need to report it out to PMI as well. This person will get blacklisted. Why do you need to report it out? It's a mandatorily, you need to be you need to be responsible and honest and fair, right? So this is how these responsibilities fit in the purview of aspirational and mandatory. Depending upon the situation, it becomes either aspirational and mandatory, right? Uh, when we are answering questions about the professional and the social responsibility, whenever we are answering any questions in the examination about the professional and social responsibility, we always need to look at the option which starts with we being proactive, right? So in this situation, which I explained to you, I was proactive to go ahead and check in PMI portal if the person is certified or not. I was proactive, I researched. Then reactive. Reactive is you went ahead and reported out to the interviewing committee and to the PMI portal. And corrective. Then you need to tell the person also, this is not fine. You cannot do this. Going forward, please don't do these kind of things. You cannot lie about your certifications, right? So always be proactive, then reactive, and then finally corrective. That's the right way of answering the questions on the professional and the social responsibility. That's it that we had from PMI, PMP perspective. We have completed the content per se. Now, apart from this, let me share a couple of other resources with you using which you can prepare for your examination. One is whenever you are going for your mock exams and whenever you're going for the exams, at that point of time, you always have to remember that it's going to be a 4-hour exam, right? So it's 4 hours is exhaustive. Take at least one break in between. You can afford it. Don't worry about that. Take at least one break in between because otherwise you will start missing on the keywords. You will miss on the keywords. You won't be able to recognize those keywords. For example, if in the question somewhere in between, if it is used as not or never, which is the option which you never use. If you miss never would, what you will read is which is the option which you would use. So the entire meaning of the sentence changes. And if you're tired, that's what's going to happen. If you're tired, you're going to miss out on the keywords. Always be, always pay attention towards the keywords. These not, never, these kind of keywords would be there, which changes the entire meaning of the sentence. Be aware of those keywords in the examination. Take at least one break. When you go for the examination, before the exam starts, 15 minutes is with you. So you enter the Prometric Testing Center. At that point of time, your exam will start after 15 minutes. You're sitting in front of your computer. Everything is ready. You have your rough notebook with you, which you cannot carry. They will give. You cannot carry anything with you. You cannot carry your wallet. You cannot carry your pen. Nothing. You cannot carry your calculator. What you will get over there is you will get a system. They will give you a rough paper. They will give you a pencil. And if you ask for it, they will give you a calculator as well. So ask for the calculator. It's important for our exam. Ask for the calculator. Then you will have these three things. Now, 15 minutes before your actual exam starts, your exam will not start. It's just on the screen. They will talk about the Prometric Testing Center, and it's just what to do about the Prometric Testing Center, how to take the exam, what you should be watchful about. It's all waste of time. But 15 minutes is with you. Now that 15 minutes, what you need to do is do a brain dump. All the formulas that you have in your mind, important formulas, put it into put it into your on the piece of paper that we have, right? Just put it over there, dump it over there, so that and again the rules. For example, BCA greater than 1 is good. CBA less than 1 is good. So if the question comes like that, you don't have to really do the calculation. You can choose the options straight away. PV, EV, CV, what is PV, AC, EV, what are these things, right? And what are the different formulas that we have? So all of that, you need to note it down over there on the paper so that later on you don't get confused. And that's how you will proceed further with your exam. That's it from the content perspective. Now give me a moment. Let me send you the details about few more resources which you can follow. And then, some of the snapshot about the formulas that you have to remember and stuff like that. So give me a moment here. Right, I have sent you the link also to the blog, to my blog where the tips and tricks are given out. I've sent you the email and I've put it into the chat window as well. So right now I just owe you one more, the PPT which I was sharing. So that material I need to convert into PDF. It is right now in PPT mode. I need to convert that into PDF and then I will send it out to you. So that's it from the content perspective. Do you have any questions, any doubts, any concerns which you want me to clarify? Praveen, Sarika, Shilpa, anything?
Not for me.
Bhupin, just want to know, classes ends today, so we need to brush through those PPTs and prepare for that. So once we complete or once we gain the confidence that we can kind of clear off for the mock exams with certain, initially you told around close to 80%. Is that correct? Then only we can go ahead and register for PMI?
Absolutely,
Okay.
Praveen.
And what is the process like? I heard that we should have a minimum 300 or 3,000 hours of PMI experience or something to eligible. He can then only register or write the exams. Is that so?
Right. So it depends upon your certification. It is around 4,600 hours of project management experience. The link which I've shared over here, in that the details are there about your eligibility criteria and all of that as well. So is that a problem? How much experience do you have in your project management at the moment? It should be spread across 3 years. 3 years is basically what your project management experience you should be having.
See, it's not only working with the techno-functional kind of role, not a full-fledged people management or what we can.
That's okay. That's
doing
okay,
end-to-end. Yeah.
Praveen, that's absolutely fine. Looking at people management is not what your project management is. Now, project management, you might be working in certain function. Even as a tech lead, when you're working as a tech lead, you can code that as a project management experience.
Yeah, pretty much. More than 5+ years.
Yeah.
Like overall considering 14, and this is 5+ year or 6 years. We can say that.
Yeah. So let me do one more thing, Praveen. What I will do is I will send out example of how do you fill out the application. I'll send out that application, the example of that. And if you have any concerns, any questions on that, then what you need to do is just send me the email. Look at the example. It's an Excel sheet, right? In that I have filled out how to fill your how a person should be filling out his experience of project management in the portal. Look at that, and then I will also send you a blank template. In that you try to fill out your experience and send it out to me for review before you actually submit for to PMI, so that the chance of review is less. Yeah.
Okay, whatever the information we are giving, they do the BGC check or anything like that?
No. For example, now, so what they do is in your PMI portal, when you go over there, you just mention that in initiation, how many number of hours that you have for a project. Let's say the project says creation of a website. That is your first project. In initiation, how many number
Okay.
of hours that you have spent? You mention the number of hours over there, and what was your role in initiation? Participated in development of the project charter. Let's say you have just mentioned that. Then in planning, how many number of hours that you have spent, and what was your role? Very short, 30 to 50 words about what you have done in that planning. It's planned for, plan the end-to-end of project management, including some of the factors whichever you want to mention. So just 30 to 50 words for each process group. That's how you mention it over there.
Okay.
Right. Let me quickly go and send it out to you. That will give you a lot of idea about how do we need to fill. It's a example of the temp. It's an example of your application.
Okay.
Just a minute. Done. I've sent it out to you now. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Now, one more thing which I want to mention over here to all of you. Today we are ending the session, but at the same point of time, tomorrow, day after, if you have any questions, any doubts, you can get together. Send me an email if there is anything on which you require my support on. Let me know, and we can continue the meeting for some more time, and I can clarify your doubts. So that's fine. That's not a problem at all. Not just now, whenever you need any support, whenever, let's say during your self-study time period after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, if you need any support, any doubts, feel free to approach to me.
Sure, Bhupin. So, Bhupin, I have one more question for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, go ahead.
So, when we apply for the PMP, I've heard that we get a PMP handbook as well, right?
Yes,
Once
that's
you,
PMBOK.
yeah. So, do we need to go through that document as well?
No, that is huge book. That is around 600, 700 pages. It's huge book. It's you're just gonna get confused with that. See, the same concepts that we have discussed today till now with the book, which I'm gonna send it out to you. I'm gonna send you a PDF copy of one of the material. Take a print out of that. That's the only thing that you need to read. If you go through multiple material, like some people will say that read Rita Muli, read PMBOK, you're just gonna get confused. Read what I'm gonna send it out to you. It's a compressed version of what is there in PMBOK. PMBOK is overly exhaustive. If you keep on reading that, you will just get confused. Not confused, but you will get bored of it.
Okay, because it's more of a theory, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the another question I have is regarding the mock test. So, are we going to do any mock test? So how is it? Or
Yes, yes,
we are going to?
absolutely. So you need to write to the skill logic. They have, I think, 5 or 6 mock exams is what they have. When just go through today, I need to, as I said, I need to convert the PPT which I have into a PDF document. I will send it out to you. Go through that PDF for, let's say, just go through it, glance through it, and once you're ready with the content, you know that everything you have covered. Then you write to skill logic for them to enable the mock test for you. So they will send you the mock test link, and then you have to write the mock test.
Okay.
Yeah. First mock test, second mock test, you will not score that high. On an average, you would probably be scoring around 60-65%. Don't get scared about it, because at that point of time, you're getting prepared about, you were not aware of how to write the exam. You were not aware of what is the expectation of PMP. One or two mock exams, you will start getting a hang of it. Around third or fourth mock exam, you will start scoring above. And in the last two exams, if you score above 80 to 85%, that is when you're sure that you are ready to write your exam.
Are you planning to send the PPT today?
Yes, I will send it out today itself.
So again, I remember I asked this question earlier also. So we need not, how about the ITTO mnemonics or something? Because
Yeah,
I think,
ITTOs don't remember. That is why a lot of times, a lot of places, I did not even cover the inputs, or because inputs are same. EEF, enterprise environmental factor, OPAs, and your project management plan. These are always the common inputs. Output is whatever you're producing. This is just for you to understand the flow of project management, not for you to remember it. This will not come in the exam. From the exam perspective, it is only gonna be the practical questions. They will give you a situation. They will say that you are a you are a project manager, and this is where your project is today. You're facing this challenge. You as a project manager, what would you do? Now, that is nowhere related to any input, output, or the tooling technique. That is your practical problems which you will be facing in your office. They will test you on how would you tackle them.
no, but don't they ask like what would be the outcome of this particular process?
No,
What
not
kind
at
of
all.
a
Not at all.
make prepare? Okay. No, the
Bhupen, sorry, yeah, Shilpa, please proceed.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is, Bhupen, I was just going through one of the mock thing in the YouTube,
Mhm.
and I saw there were like certain questions on the ITTO, the input and output process. That
Uh,
is why, and since
Shilpa,
this all
right, Shilpa,
processes,
even if you go into my blog, I've sent you the link of that. Even if you go into my blog and register into my blog, there are a couple of mock tests which I will give it to you. Now, there are a couple of mock exams in which I will also test if you remember the ITTOs or not. That is only for me to check if you remember the content. Real exam, none of the ITTOs come.
okay. No, I just want to be sure
Yeah.
because all these 9 processes, I mean, they have common inputs and common outputs, but they are slightly different. So that's
See,
the only.
it's very simple, Shilpa. The tool and technique which is mentioned over, the tools and techniques which are mentioned are not exhaustive. Those are not all the tools and techniques which can be followed. There are many more tools and techniques which are followed in project management. What we have taught you, or what PMI has recorded, is the most important tool and technique. Since it is not exhaustive, they cannot ask you. It's not the complete list. You might have followed something else in your company, right? So that's why they don't check it. They just check, do you know the applicability or not? Do you know how to resolve the real life issues or not?
Okay, we'll trust your words, Bhupen.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome. Yes, Praveen, you were saying something.
Initially, I was while discussing with Skill Logic, they kind of saying, I mean, despite of taking a repetitive, mock test, suppose on the certain subject area wherein we need to focus, or we kind of lagging some tools and techniques to, crack the exams. In that case, is there any point of contact person who can help us understand this is the area you need to improve or something during this span of maybe 1 month or 2 months, or maybe if I'm decided to take maybe after that the exams, you know.
Right.
You got my questions? Yeah,
Yes,
like
yes,
at
yes,
certain
absolutely.
times on the certain topics we are maybe we are not able to score due to these reasons, or
Yeah. Now, in that situation, ideally what will happen is you will get to know about your scores. You will get to know about the right answers as well. Analyze yourself, if it's possible for you, analyze yourself, which is the area which is knowledge area in which you are not scoring that well. If that's true, if you are able to identify, great, send me a mail. We will have a one Skype session, or whichever session is possible, have that. I will give you a refresher on that. If in case it's, you're confused, you don't know which area you're lacking behind, then another option is you can of course go into Skill Logic, just launch a chat with them and say that I have already completed PMP course, I've written my mock exam, I want help with someone analyzing my result, right? So they will help you out with that. Another is you can log into my portal, which is it's my blog. It's you can just go into the blog, register over there. Of course, after registration, you won't be able to log in because I need to approve your registration. It's only open for my students. So I will approve your registration and then you can write your mock exams. Now, if you write your mock exam in my portal, I would be able to analyze the result myself. Skill Logic, I don't have access over there, so I won't be able to do it. They need to do it for you. If you have written in my portal, I would analyze it for you. But in their portal as well or my portal, the process is slightly different. Here, I will analyze and I will get back to you. There, you need to go to their chat portal, their website, their chat pops up. They just speak to them and they will assign a consultant for you. All right, Praveen?
Yeah, okay, Bhupen. The one you sent, right? UNNAP.com.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so please remember if you're going into that portal to write your mock exams, then once you register, you won't be able to log in unless I approve the registration. So I've just, I've enabled the registration only for my students. Once you log in, I receive an email. Now there is a time lag, right? I receive the email, then whenever I have access to computer, I will go into the computer and approve your registration. Only after approval, you will get the mail that your registration is approved, and then you will be able to log in.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yep.
The portal looks good, Bhupen.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I have another question, the last question.
Mm-hmm.
So all this, like all this calculation, the mathematics part of it,
Mm-hmm.
especially the decision tree concept and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So what about more examples on it? So do we need to get something from the Google or something?
No,
Or
more
YouTube?
examples. I don't think it would be required. If you want, then I can, I have, if you want, you can go into, for more examples, you can of course go into YouTube and get the more examples. But see, you will get tons and tons of examples when you are writing your mock exams. At that point of time, you will get those situations, and when you're sorting out, you will get a lot of clarity on it. And at the moment, what is my expectation is you should just understand how to calculate. How to build your expertise, mock exams are going to help you a lot on that.
All right. Okay. Sounds good, Bhupen.
All right then, guys, and once again, let me make it very clear once again, Praveen, Shilpa, and Sarika. Let me make it very clear once again. At any point of time, see, it's not that I generally want to handhold my participants to their journey towards the PMP certification. This engagement doesn't end over here. At any point of time, if you need any support, 1 hour, 2 hour, multiple on multiple days also, if you need my support, you need a refresher or anything, just send me an email. You can probably do this thing that you collaborate with each other, and when you're preparing, if you're working with each other together, and at that point of time, if you're coming back together that this is our concern, that becomes much more easier for me, because then I'm not taking one-on-one session, I'm probably taking for 2 or 3 people together. I'm giving you the details and giving you a refresher. That works better for me. But then whenever you need any help, feel free to send me an email.
Sure, Bhupen. Will do.
All right,
Sure.
then, guys. Thank you. It was a pleasure teaching you, and have a great day ahead. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's pleasure being here. Yep.
Thanks.